Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. We are going to continue today with our fall baking series, and today we're going to focus on apple flavors. So I've got 3 items here: a salted caramel apple pie bar, sounds delicious, apple cider snickerdoodles, and an apple cider donut loaf cake. So I'm excited to try all of those. So let me gather up some of my ingredients and we'll get started. So everything ran through the dishwasher yesterday. I moved some stuff, and I've got all my supplies out here. Let me go ahead and put these where I can get to them. Okay, we're going to start with the apple cider donut loaf cake, and we need our standard 9x5 pan. We want to preheat our oven to 325. So we want to just spray our pan. And you can now line it with some parchment paper, or you can put a little flour in there. I'm going to go ahead and put flour in there. And I'm just going to, whoops, throw flour all over the floor. I'm just going to shake this around so that I get flour all over the bottom and sides of my pan. If you have some spray that has flour in it, you can use that. And then I'm just going to dump the excess into the trash. And now I'm going to set this to the side somewhere. Put it back there. First thing we want to do is we want to start with 1 cup of apple cider. And then we're going to bring this to a boil. And what we want to do is bring it to a boil, and then we're going to let it cook until it's reduced by about half. That's going to take about 10 minutes. Once this starts boiling, I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to just watch it. And it's actually starting to boil now, so. Alright, we just got about a minute left. And I think it's actually, I'm going to turn this off because I think we're down to about a half a cup. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pour this into this larger bowl, and we're just going to let it cool a little bit. I'm going to set it someplace to the side. We're going to melt a half a cup of butter in that same pan. So half a cup is 1 stick. So while our butter's melting, we're going to go ahead and put our sugar and our eggs in our stand mixer. So we're going to put 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. You do always want to pack your brown sugar. I usually just push it against the side of my container. Or you can smash it down with your fingers, whatever works best for you. And then I want to add 2 large eggs to that. And we're going to mix this up until it's kind of frothy. we're going to go ahead, our butter's melted, we're going to go ahead and drizzle it in while this is running. Now that our reduced apple cider it's cool enough for me to touch the jar or the container, we're going to add to that half a cup of sour cream and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And I might have right at a half a cup left in this container. Yep, I do. I'm just going to whisk all this together now. So we want to get our dry ingredients all ready. So we want 1 1/4 cups flour, plus 2 tablespoons. Two tablespoons of cornstarch. 1 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Now, the author says to use freshly grated. I don't have any, so I'm just going to use my ground that I have in my jar. And we're going to stir this all together. Okay, so now we're going to add our dry ingredients and the sour cream and butter mixture. The sour cream and cider mixture. We're going to alternate those, starting and ending with butter. So I'm going to turn this on and let it run, and we're going to start slowly adding those ingredients. And I might have said starting and ending with butter, but I meant starting and ending with our flour mixture. I'm going to go ahead and stir in the flour that's on top of my beater. We'll give this a good stir and just make sure that there's nothing dry on the bottom. And then we're going to put it into our pan, and we're going to bake it 55 minutes or until a toothpick in the center comes out clean. Alright, so this is going into our 325-degree oven, and I'm going to set the timer for 55 minutes. Alright, the next thing we're going to work on is our apple cider snickerdoodles. So we're going to start with 1 cup of apple cider in our pan, and we're going to reduce this. We're going to let it come to a boil, and we're going to reduce it until it's only about 2 tablespoons. So that's going to take us about 25 minutes once it starts boiling. so this is getting really close. We've got to actually, yeah, I'm going to let it go just another minute or so. And then we want to remove it from the heat and let it cool. And that's going to take another 15 minutes or so. And what this is doing is cooking out the water so that the flavor is more concentrated without having all that extra liquid. Okay, I think that's about down to 2 tablespoons. So we're going to let that sit on the back of the stove now off the heat and let it cool. Next, we're going to go ahead and mix our butter and sugars together for our cookies. We want 1/2 cup of butter, which is 1 stick, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. And then we're going to mix that up until it's light and fluffy. It's going to take 2 or 3 minutes. Now we're going to add 1 egg and the reduced apple cider. And we're going to mix that, and we're going to scrape down our sides if we need to, which we probably will. Okay, so we're going to mix our dry ingredients together, starting with 1.5 cups of flour. I'm going to add 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And then we're going to gradually add this about 1/2 cup at a time until it's well mixed. Okay, then in a small bowl, we want 2 tablespoons of sugar, 3/4 tablespoon of cinnamon, teaspoon, I might have said tablespoon, 3/4 teaspoon of our cinnamon, 3/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. We're going to stir that all together. We're going to use our 1 tablespoon cookie scoop, which is our small one, or my small one. And we're going to scoop up balls of dough, and we're going to roll it in our sugar and spice mixture and put those on our pan. Yep, 36 cookies. This one might be a little small, but that's okay. Alrighty, let's give our bread a check. Ooh, looks good. Well, I think it's done. Yep, it is done. So I'm going to set this on a cooling rack, and we're going to let it cool 3 or 4 minutes before we take it out of the pan. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put our trays of apples in the oven, and we're going to bake these about 10 minutes. Okay, so we're going to start on our apple pie bars. We're going to spray a 9x13 pan, and then I am going to put some parchment paper in here like this, and then that will allow us to lift this out of here once the bars are done, and then we can cut them. We want 5 medium apples. These are actually kind of small. I might have to do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, unfortunately, I can't find my apple pie, or I'm sorry, my apple peeler slicer. I can't find my corer, so I'm going to use this, and we'll just have to cut them smaller after we peel them. Oh! So you want your apple slices to be pretty thin, either 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Our first batch of cookies is almost done, or the time's almost up. We'll see if they're done. All right, there's our cookie timer. Let's see what those look like. We give those 1 more minute. I'm going to take them out, and we're going to let them sit for a couple of minutes on the rack, on the pan, and then we'll move them to a cooling rack, to finish cooling. We've got our 1 more pan to put in here. We'll get those in and get our timer started for 10 minutes. I'm trying to avoid smashing my fingers with this, since these apples are so small. I don't want to slice my fingers open. I really wanted to go apple picking this year, but everybody's schedules are so busy that finding a day that we could go was just almost impossible. We haven't been since my youngest granddaughter was a baby, and she's 4 now, so. But now her brother, everybody's in sports, and everybody's jobs keep them busy. Guess we can't stop them from growing up, unfortunately. You guys have heard me say this before, but throwing things into the trash that could go into a compost bin or pile is really hard on my soul. After so many years of having compost, not being able to have it is really hard on me. All right, a couple more slices and we'll be done with getting our apples prepped. Okay, to our apples, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of flour, 1/3 cup of packed light brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, 3/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, whoops, 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, and a pinch of salt. And then we just want to toss this all together and break up the brown sugar. apples get well make sure our apples get well coated. Don't throw them all over your counter like I just did. All right, I'm going to set this to the side somewhere. And we want to put 1.5 cups of butter in our dish and melt it. So 1.5 cups is 3 sticks. So there's 2. And there's our 3rd. While that's melting, we're going to add 3 cups of flour to our mixer. And this will be our crust and our toppings. We're going to add 3 cups of oats. And you want rolled oats, not the quick oats. Wait, did I say 3? Oh no, 2 cups of oats. Sorry, just 2. 1.5 cups of packed light brown sugar. One and a half teaspoons of baking soda. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And half a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to pour my melted butter into this. And I'm going to mix this very gently until it's combined. Just going to make sure, oh yes, I need to give this a stir. Some dry flour and stuff at the bottom. All right, we're going to take 2 cups of this mix out. And then we're going to put the rest of it in our pan. Like that. And we want to press this down so that it's even and firm down in your pan. We want to give our apple mixture another stir. Just make sure everything's mixed well. And then we're going to put that on top of our base. If there's any liquid left in your bowl, don't add that. Go ahead and just leave it in the bowl. And you want to spread out your apples as evenly as you can. And then our reserved mix here, we're just going to sprinkle over the top like a streusel. Now we are going to bake this at 350 degrees for 38 to 45 minutes. We're gonna start with 38 minutes and then we'll check our topping should be bubbly and our apples should be tender. All right, our apple pie bars are done. And I'm just gonna set those there and we're gonna let those cool. And then once they're cool, we'll take them out of the pan and we'll go ahead and cut some. All right, we are going to take our apple pie bars out of the pan. And we're gonna cut one and see how it looks. I'm going to cut just a little piece off. We're going to give it a try. Ooh, that is really, really good. We're going to store those in the fridge though because of the apples. So I'll have to find a place for those. We're also going to cut a slice of our bread. And we'll see how it tastes. That's really good. I did give one of our snickerdoodles a taste test earlier. Really good. The apple flavor is, you just get a hint of the apple cider, but really good. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this video. We've got our 3 recipes that were based on apple flavor profiles. Everything was delicious. Everything was easy to put together. I've got lots of things now that I can share with my friends and family and co-workers. I am going to go ahead and put all of these recipe links in the description box as usual. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. Either give it a like or drop a comment. If you're not subscribed, I would encourage you to go ahead and do so. You can just click that subscribe button and then you'll always know when my next video uploads so that you can go in and watch it. Okay, so that does it for our next installment of the fall baking. I do have a couple more coming up where we're going to focus on pumpkin items, so be on the lookout for those. But for today, we're all done, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Thanks, guys.